Welcome to our show for financial security sales professionals, where we talk about the business of selling annuities, life insurance, healthcare coverage, and employee benefits. My name is Dan Vignal with WebPres Videos, and my partner here on my right, your left, is Lloyd Lofton with Power Behind the Sales. On this week's show, we're going to be discussing a checklist that Lloyd uses with many of his agent and advisor clients on how to restart or kick their business up to the next level. But before we do that, if at any time you would like to join our discussion here on the screen with us, please click on the private chat tab on the far right of the chat box, and then click on the link provided. That will put you in the queue so that we can admit you to the screen. Okay, Lloyd, let's begin with, do you want to put that checklist up, or do you want to tell us a little bit about it first?
Well, let me do a couple of things first. I do want to acknowledge the tragedy that happened in Texas a couple of days ago. And I want to acknowledge that because I know some of you have kids, you have families, maybe you've got people who live in Texas. I've got kids and grandkids. One of the first things I did was reach out to make sure that the kids and my kids were okay. So I just want to acknowledge that for a moment. It's something no parent wants to have to go through. No community wants to have to go through it. And everybody's impacted in different ways. So I just want to acknowledge that. And if you're going through something, I think you've got a community around the world that is with you and supportive of you. I also wanted to acknowledge that we were supposed to have Don come back on and go through the LinkedIn checklist that he did. But I will tell you, I talked to him on Wednesday, and his wife and kids got the flu. They live in South Africa, over in Kenya. They got the flu, and they've all been pretty sick. He actually messaged me yesterday, said, "I know we talked on Wednesday. Can you refresh me on what I'm going to do on the show?" And he hasn't made it. I'm guessing that he's relapsed and is sick. So we'll bring him back on. If he comes on during the show, we'll bring him in. But if not, we'll bring him back on and go over what kind of things he might have done different for that LinkedIn checklist. The reason that I brought up this launch checklist, Dan, is when I talk to agents, advisors, IMOs, groups, one of the biggest challenges they have is being organized. And I'm surprised, as I'm sure you are. I'm surprised of the lack of knowledge that agents and advisors have about how the business actually works, like the business side of the business. And so during the show today, if you have a comment you want to make, you can just click on comments and type in there. If you're on YouTube, on the right-hand side, you can type your questions in there. If you're on LinkedIn, you can type your questions right in the comment section. And they'll show up, and we'll make them live here so everybody can see them. And as Dan said, if you want to come on the show and ask your questions in the private chat, I put a link. You click it, and we'll bring you in the show, and you can ask your questions. And so, yeah, I put together this checklist a while back. I'll make it. Let me go over here and make it a little bit bigger. And I put it together because when I've talked to agents and advisors, I'm constantly surprised that the lack of information they have about how the business side works. So I'm going to show you. We won't have time to talk about all this, but maybe over the next few weeks we'll talk about it. We'll talk a little bit about the carrier. But I also think it's interesting how a lot of times agents and advisors aren't educated on the lead ordering process and what kind of things that is critical for you to know about ordering leads, getting your leads and working your leads, and do it so it's financially feasible for you to invest in your own business. And then to convert those leads into activities. And so this is kind of what we'll talk about over the next few weeks. I'll make a couple of comments on the carrier process. Dan, I'm interested to hear your part of it. What really struck me about presenting this out there today is I was talking with an advisor just the other day, maybe a week ago, and he had gotten with a new organization. And I asked him what I consider to be just a couple of basic questions. One of the questions I asked him is, what percent are you at on your products? And he wasn't sure what his percent was, like his commission percent on the different products. I asked him, what kind of advance are you on? And he was under the impression that he's going to get 100% of his money right up front, which is not always the case. And then I asked him about vesting. And so I think it's funny that a lot of times agents and advisors just aren't aware of how that works. Another thing I ask is, has your manager, has your upline walked you through an application yet? Like showed you how to fill out an application, gone through the illustration software with you? And no, that had not happened. So, one of the things with most carriers, you can log into their platform, you can log into your agent portal, and you can either order product kits, or you can order brochures, or you can download them. And most carriers have consumer-facing brochures and postcards and things like that. In fact, Dave has a really good comment about that. There seems to be a lack of good training. It's good you guys are around. Well, Dave,
thanks, Dave.
Yeah, that's nice of you to say that. Yeah, and so you can log into your agent portal, and a lot of times, like I know with some carriers, you can download the rate software right onto your computer. But when you go in, you can actually download whole product kits, which is the application, the brochure, any compliance information, depending on the product you're using. You can go into marketing and you can order one pages, brochures, postcards that are compliance approved, and you can order those. A lot of times you can have an account with an online mail service where you can upload that postcard, you can upload your list, and they'll do the mailing for you. And then if you have a good CRM, if you have a good marketing system, and Dan, I'll throw that over to you in a minute. You can upload those in there and make those downloadable. They can be in your email template. You can have a good messaging, and then they can click it. The consumer can click it and download that. What's even better, if you pair it with a video that they can watch. They watch the video, they do the download, and then you have a system set up so that you're notified that they did one or the other, and then you're able to reach out to them right away. And it's just really surprising to me that so many agents have no idea that the carrier actually has that available. And I want to comment on the applications part of it. I think if you sign up with anybody, whether it's an IMO, FMO, MGA, you're captive with a carrier, one of the first responsibilities of your upline is to go through the application with you. And so I think you need to fill out the application all the way through to the point of submitting it. Because, it's like when I would train agents for health insurance, one of the things I would tell them is, one of the things you say to your prospect is, when do you want to find out the health insurance plan you're picking doesn't cover you? At the time you're buying it, or when you're at the emergency room? Because I can tell you when most people don't want to find out that they're not covered, that's in the emergency room. And the time you don't want to find out that you don't understand exactly how the application should be filled out, what information you need to ask from the prospect, what information the prospect's going to have to get for you. In other words, are they going to have, particularly if you're selling virtually like this, if they're going to have to get up and go look for information, you might as well make a sign that says your turn to object, because the minute you have to ask for information that they don't have readily available, that's the perfect time for them to say, well, I'm not sure where it is. I'm going to have to go find it. Can we do this later?
Yeah, I'll get back to you.
All the time, money, and resources you just spent with them goes right out the window. And so taking an application, now, I went out to one organization and did an in-house training for them. It was an FMO. And I didn't feel good. I probably shouldn't even have gone then, because I was really not as healthy as I should have been. I think I was even a little rude to people there, but which I can be direct sometimes. But one of the things they have on their website is we have 224 carriers. And I made the comment to them, no agent cares that you have 224 carriers. Who cares? An agent's not going to sign up for 224 freaking carriers. They're going to sign up for the carrier that they think has a product, a prospect they're going to talk to will buy. That's what they're looking for. And so what you need to do is you need to pick the 2 or 3 products. I always tell agents, pick 2 primary products and 2 ancillary products and become really proficient with those products. Everything from the product details to the application submittal, placing the policy, get really proficient with that, because if you can't pay your house payment, make your car payment, and put braces on your kids' teeth selling 2 products, the idea that you can make a ton of money selling 10 products is ludicrous. So when you go through the carrier's portals and you look at the marketing material, like I know with WebPred's videos, they can upload their list, but how could they incorporate the brochures and make that a download along with using the videos? How would you do that with your people?
Well, yeah. So let me first comment on a statement that you made, because I think this is where you and I disagree. I do think that you can build a really good business if you have 10 products. Now, I would disagree, or I would agree that you couldn't do it with 20 or 30. But I do think that maybe 10 or a dozen, or at least 6 or 7 are viable. And I know you disagree with that, and that's okay.
Let me comment on that. I don't disagree, but I think if you're new in the business,
yeah,
you need to learn 2 products and 2 ancillary products to get proficient at that, and then add new products onto it.
Okay.
If you're going to learn 10 different products in the first 6 months you're in the business, I don't see how you're going to make any money doing that.
Okay, so I agree with that, but I think that the majority of our audience are not newbies. The majority of our audience, I know the demographic of our customers, and they're if they're not seasoned professionals, they are at least with 5-6 years in the business. So I think that our audience is more inclined to be inquisitive or curious about, I think, and I want to turn this back to you, how do you recommend, let's say that I have contracts with 2 or 3 IMOs or FMOs, and some of them I use, some of them I don't use. How should I go about strategically? How would you recommend that I go about either aligning myself with one IMO or one wholesaler, or aligning myself with a couple for strategic reasons, maybe one, maybe even 3, if they specialize in certain sectors of the market that I want to make a complement of my business? How would I select them? And then I think this is really important because I find a lot of agents and advisors make this mistake, is they don't ask enough questions of the wholesaler as to what service that wholesaler is going to provide in exchange for the override that they get on my business. So if I come to you and I say, hey, look, I want to clean up my business. I've got 3 or 4 IMOs. I've got 20 contracts out there, and I don't really need all of them. How should I clean up this mess?
Well, I think that's a good question. I think if you look down at number 7 and wait a minute, number 6 and number 7 on here, it said that IMOs and FMOs should be providing a service to you.
Right.
Some of the things I would want an IMO to be able to tell me is what products are people buying. I know agents and advisors get caught up on the products they want to sell. Yeah. My question is, maybe you should sell what people are buying. Yeah. So what's hot in the market right now? What product is hot in the market right now? And then who's buying it? Give me a profile of that prospect. And then what marketing material do you have available that I can use, that when I go to a lead vendor, I can get in front of the prospect? And then is the process for the consumer to buy that product conducive with the way I sell? So like if I'm selling belly to belly and I'm going out to people's houses, uh, your process of doing virtual selling may not be in my wheelhouse. But if your process of virtual selling is in line with me trying to convert over and learn how to virtual sell, then that's a pretty good fit for me. And then what do I need to do to maintain my contract with you? So I think every agent that has, if you take the profile of the agent you're talking about, they have fairly decent production, or they have production. I think they should get a 100-point contract on their life products. But there's a trade-off. So broker dealers and carriers who say we'll provide leads for you are usually doing that because they're giving you a less of a contract. And the reason they're giving you less of a contract is because they're buying the leads for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are something that I think you should consider.
Yeah, I think that's a real good point. Now, I just noticed that Don Weber has joined us and is waiting in the queue here. Do you want to sort of flip our topic here and get into talking to Don about his specific situation? Because I think our audience can learn a lot. I think Don represents sort of at least from a health insurance employee benefits standpoint, a fairly common situation. So do you want to bring him on now?
Well, let me bring him in. I'm going to bring him in. I'm going to get rid of this launch strategy here. We can talk about that going forward. But when I bring him in, I still want to comment on David's comment.
Yeah, I would like to comment too.
Let me bring Don on. Don, how you feeling, man? Don, can you hear me?
Hey, hi. There's an echo or a delay.
Turn your sound up a little bit. Turn your sound up a little bit. We can't hear you real well.
Nope, that's down.
Yeah, I can't hear you at all now. So while he's doing that,
echo or a delay that's really bad on your.
All right, that's a little bit better. So Dave, let me just comment on David. If you're a seasoned agent, what do you think is the best way to figure out the best client? Well, I'll let Dan comment on that. My comment would be, what market are you most comfortable presenting in? Because I think that's where you're going to deliver the best.
Right.
Delivery is at least 50% of the presentation.
Right.
What market are you most comfortable in? What product are you most comfortable presenting? Like, I talk to some agents that say they want to sell annuities, but they're totally uncomfortable with the idea of annuities at all.
Yeah.
I know some agents want to sell long-term care. They think it's really complicated, or they want to sell Medicare supplement. They think it's too complicated and they can't see themselves doing it. They jump in the market, fall on their face, beat themselves up. And it takes them months to get back on their feet because they go back to the market they're comfortable with. So what product are you most comfortable presenting? And then the third one for me, Dan, I'll turn it over to you, is what are people buying? Again, I'm kind of from the slow school. I think you should sell what people buy.
Yeah, all good points. I think I'll address it from a little different perspective. I'm talking about a target market. So number one, if you had a previous occupation to coming into the insurance business or the financial business, for example, in Don's case, he was in the construction business. So he knows the nomenclature, he knows the idiom, he knows the culture of general contractors and subcontractors. If you were a teacher or you were you were a salesman in another profession, maybe you were in real estate, maybe you were selling medical devices, whatever your previous occupation was, that, in my opinion, that's what your target market should be, because you know it, because you understand those people. If you did not have a previous occupation, then to follow up on your point, Lloyd, where are you comfortable? So when you talk about comfort, you might discover, if you've been in business for a while, you might discover some commonalities in who your most successful clients have been, or the clients that you enjoy working with the most. So it could be that you really enjoy working with business people, or you really enjoy working with pharmacists or chiropractors or something like that. If you have 5 or 6 clients in one occupation, that's probably an indication that you kind of understand their business. you must have some sort of access to that market, not the least of which is those 5 or 6 people should be a core centers of influence to help you develop other clients in that market. So the second thing, if you don't have a previous occupation, the second thing would be look at your data files, see your client list, and see if there's some commonalities there. If both of those things are strikes, then the third one is, again, to Lloyd's point, where are you comfortable? So I think that comes down to, is there any particular area of business or occupation or maybe geographic area that you feel you have an inside knowledge on? So that could be, for example, an association that you belong to or a club that you belong to. For example, and I know this may sound a little bit trite or cliched, and you may wonder, how do I turn this into a market? But let's say that you're an avid tennis player and you belong to a tennis club. Well, I would suggest that you prospect among tennis players. Or if you're into fishing and you love fishing and there's a whole science and an art to fishing, and people who are into fishing understand there's a language there and there's a commonality. Not only does it help you to focus your attention on a specific market and delve into that, but it also helps you develop trust and likability, because when you prospect among people who are like you, they relate to you, and they feel good about talking with you, and they have something to relate to. So those would be, Dave, those would be my 3 recommendations for how to choose a target market clientele.
I kind of hear you paraphrasing: prospect where you pay, where you play,
Yeah.
where you pray.
Yeah. All of those are correct. All right, let's bring Don in here, because we got about half an hour to talk about Don's database. That information you gave us, Don, was very useful.
Okay.
I think, Lloyd, you had some things that you wanted, a couple of questions you wanted to ask Don, or maybe a suggestion on how we get started with this.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you have a chance to look at that LinkedIn checklist?
Yes, I started through the checklist. I've edited my my introduction. I don't know the correct terms. I edited who I was. I edited
Your profile.
my profile. I got so far hitting the profile. Then there's a headline. Then there's a summary. And
Did you find that
then-
easy or hard to do?
well, there's a separate profile list. Or I have a whole lot of information on there before I edited some of the original statements, the profile statements. My background image, I think, is good. My photo and my background image, I think, are good. I'd like some feedback on that. But an up-to-date summary. And then they asked about media. I have good recommendations on there. I have some endorsements on there. Yeah. So I went through the checklist as far as I could.
Well, good for you. I'm proud of you for doing that. You don't know how many times I give that out to people and they don't really do anything, and then I talk to them a month later and they're like, well,
Yeah.
didn't really have time to get to it. And then
No, if I'm going to get coaching and help from a professional, I'm going to try to act on it.
so I like the lists, the different lists that you sent. Just on average, like I know in your client list, on average, what's the age of those client lists?
They're all over the map. I mean, I have a lot of families in their 30s. I have families in their 40s. I have families in their 50s and 60s.
And do you have them in your CRM now?
I don't have, my CRM may not be complete with ages. So
Do you have their date of birth and stuff like that in there?
for the most part,
Okay.
I get, I'm not consistent on filling it out. So
Okay.
I'll just admit to that.
Hey, for the audience, Lloyd, can you share with everyone the 4 types of lists in that that Don has available to him?
Is that okay with you, Don?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so Don did what I thought was really good is I'm trying to look at there's nothing confidential in here. Would you be okay if I shared my screen?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Let me go back to this and I'll share the screen. Let me remove this. All right. I'm almost there. Bear with me, my man.
So you've got a lot to work with here, Don.
Okay.
I would say more than average. And I think we've got some ideas that are really going to springboard your production based on what your database capabilities are.
Okay.
So I'm going to put this up here now so we can kind of go through it a little bit.
Okay. If I can have that screen.
So I really like the first thing I really like is the target market, the target ideal client, 45 to 65, self-employed business owner.
Yeah.
Earning over 150,000. You know, that makes it easy for you to get prospect lists for that. And if you get the right prospect list, then what you're able to do, I keep looking over here because I've got two screens, so I'm kind of keeping track of it. What it enables you to do is use a method to reach out to these people on a consistent basis to build a relationship. If I move down to your products and services, you've got that kind of broken down. So when I read individual and family health insurance, dental, hearing, vision, I see each of those as different marketing messages that can go out. So you can put together a sequence and a funnel that it communicates to them about information that's germane to them because you've targeted that pretty specifically. And then for employees and the groups under 50, you know, again, each one of those to me is a marketing message. I picture putting together an email sequence. And what's better is putting together kind of a funnel so that on a regular basis, and Dan, I'll turn this back over to you, on a regular basis, you can communicate with them. I don't know how often, Dan, you would recommend it, twice a month or something. And that's why I like the idea of having the downloads and the videos, because you can track the open rates, you can track the click-through rates, you can track what they download. And the best thing is if you could track the video they watch, how long they watch the video, and then if you could contact them right when they're engaging with your marketing material, that means that's intent marketing. Their intent, the intent they're demonstrating is that they have an interest in the topic because they're engaging with it right then. Am I reading that right, Dan?
Yeah. What the numbers that you sent over, Don? One, you said you have approximately 934. That's a pretty specific number for approximate, but I have approximately 934 life, health, Medicare leads in your CRM. That is great. I would say when I talk with our customers at WebPres, on average, I find between 350 and 500, and we make that work all the time. The second thing you listed was that you have another 636 that bought something from you in the past 6 months, but that you have not entered. Okay, that
was just leads I bought. They didn't buy something from me. They were leads I bought.
Okay, those are leads you bought. So those leads are valuable. You need to work those. So don't disregard those. They need to go into your CRM.
I think Dan and I would classify those as inventory.
Absolutely.
So absolutely. Like if you own a shoe store and you buy 600 pair of shoes and leave them on the truck in the alley.
Yeah.
It's inventory that you need to use.
You also said that you have over 4,800 LinkedIn contacts that you downloaded. Hold that to the side. That's not a high price. That's the least of the four. And then the fourth one is that you have 600 Gmail contacts, a mix of business and personal, but mainly from the construction trades, which is exactly what I was recommending today. Right. So you have 934, 636, another 600 Gmail contracts. You have about 2,000, a little over 2,000 contacts. Of those contacts, do you have phone numbers for all of them?
Yes.
Do you have email addresses for all of them?
Most of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm
all
telling
the
you.
Gmail, phone numbers. Yeah, I have phone numbers and email.
Okay, so that's great, and you need to take some time. This is a strategic and tactical aspect of building your business, taking it to the next level, and I can guarantee it's going to make huge change in your business. So whether you use your CRM to do this, which is going to require more effort on your part, or you deploy to a system like WebPres. So I'm going to make a little pitch here, not saying that we're the only ones out there, but you can find us.
Well, just
so
to my 2 cents on this real quick. The reason I wanted to turn that over to you, Dan, is after talking with Don, and Don, we've known each other for a while. I can be direct, right?
Right.
So he's probably not going to do the work inside the CRM or knows how to do it. That's the reason I wanted you to talk to him is and correct me if I'm wrong, but your platform has the email templates already built. They're associated with the videos.
Right.
So
everything, yeah. So we designed this because, I was in the business for 20 years and I know what it's like, and I talk to our customers all the time, and I know that they abhor the technology side, the marketing part of this, and but they appreciate the value of it. So we do everything. You bring us the list and we upload it. Now the difference is, now you've got 3 different lists, and you might want to break those lists, or you would want to break those lists into segments. And so those segments are going to be target markets. So those target markets may come down to demographics, age group, location, gender, whatever it might be, or it could be market specific, meaning that these are people with families and they're the ones that want to go after life insurance or maybe basic health insurance. And then I have people that are over age 60 or between 55 and over, and I want to focus on retirement planning or annuities. And maybe I have a group that's 65 and above, what we call seniors, and I want to market to them everything from long-term care and critical illness and Medicare supplements and everything that goes along with that, travel insurance and all of those things. So you would segment that group, and that's something we can't do for you. But you'd have to go through and you'd break them into lists, and then you can give us the list or you can upload them yourselves. You pick the campaign that matches that target market list. And then again, whether you do this yourself or you have somebody like WebPres do it for you, what you need to do is automate the process of dripping on those people on a regular, continuous basis forever until they tell you, stop bothering me, right? So because they won't. I mean, with rare exceptions, they are engaged, they're intrigued. The more that you drip on them, the more familiar they become with you, the more familiar they come with your brand. And especially if your drip marketing is not selling. So your drip marketing should be informational, but it should be somewhat innovative. It should be ideas. People love ideas. I'm going to digress for just a moment because I think, I don't know if I mentioned this with Lloyd some time ago. A long time ago, back in between 82 and 84, the AICPA, so the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, did a survey. So this is back in the 80s, this is a long time ago. And they had a problem with their brand, what they thought was their brand recognition in the marketplace. And so they conducted a very thorough survey of clients of CPAs. And they discovered, much to their chagrin, that their biggest problem was, their biggest advantage, their 2 takeaways, that they had a huge advantage and they had a huge problem. Their advantage was that virtually everyone, especially business owners, perceived the CPA as the most objective, trustworthy advisor in the marketplace. That's who they went to for trustable advice. The problem that they had was CPAs are reactive, not proactive. And their problem was when they asked people, I'm paraphrasing now, but their answer was, I go to my CPA to do my taxes, and he looks at what we've done over the years, and he said, well, you should have done this. You should have gotten a 401k. You should have done an IRA. You should have set this up over here. You should have done this. And then there's no follow-up. But it's too late to do it for that season. They said what they wanted was proactive ideas. They wanted their CPA, their trusted advisor, to reach out to them throughout the year with ideas. They want ideas. They may not accept them all, but they wanted the CPA to come up with ideas that they didn't know about, information they didn't know about, which was applicable to them. I tell you that story simply because it applies much better, or just as well, certainly, with insurance agents and financial advisors. People want ideas. They want innovation. Don't tell me things I already know. I already know that. Tell me things I don't know. Give me unusual ways to accomplish my objectives. And of course, the most important part of that is you have to be a good listener if you're going to extract the information, extract their objectives from those people. Or, and this is where the drip marketing comes in, if you are constantly dripping ideas on your database, they will pick and choose the ones that intrigue them. And concurrently, they will see you as a source of innovation, a source of ideas, a source of someone they can go to who's going to look at things differently than their CPA, their tax advisor, their attorney, or their investment advisor. They're going to look at you and say, hey, this guy sends me different ideas every week. It doesn't have to be a newsletter with 20 ideas and recipes and stories. They want something brief, to the point. If they're interested, they'll engage. And that's the final point, is you need to make sure, whether you're using a CRM or any other system, that the engagement that your database has with your content is immediately notified to you. You need to be notified exactly when they integrate or they engage with your content so that you can follow up. So you want an automated system that does all that work for you until until the funnel comes down to you need to call them and talk to these people.
Now, can I throw something in here?
Please.
I'm going to give you an alternate read. I agree with everything 100%. That's why I didn't say a word, because he's preaching to the choir. I'm ready to sing praise the Lord, baby. Praise Buddha or whatever you praise. Praise Debbie. That's my wife. She's my God. Could you guys tell her I said that?
Yeah.
But from the business side of it, like one of the resources I've got that I refer out agents and advisors is virtual telemarketers. And I've got a firm in the Philippines that have English-speaking people really good at their job. It's only $8 an hour, but they require that you hire 3 of them. 3 of them at $8 an hour.
Wow.
So the difference is these 3 people could generate contacts for you. No question about it. Or you can have a drip marketing campaign that's sequenced out to the market you work, that does the work for you.
Yeah.
And it does something else for you. It serves the purpose of a really good business manager. Because years ago, I had a business manager, and I used to meet every Monday with the business manager, and we would review the numbers for last week. And the review of those numbers told me what I needed to do different this week. And so a really good platform tells you what the numbers were last week, and it tells you what you need to do this week. And then what it also does is it books your calendar, because if you're smart, which I know you are, if you're smart, as soon as your business advisor or your VA or however you want to frame it tells you someone just downloaded or opened an email or watched a video, you do what most agents should be doing. You pick up the phone and you call them.
Right.
Because that's the time that they're interested, because they're on it with you right that minute.
Right.
So if you had, and agents will do this, agents will spend 25 or 50 bucks for a live transfer, right? For a live transfer. And when you get the live transfer, they're too stupid to know how to turn the call over to you. Betty's interested in a Medicare supplement. Boom, they transfer the call. And now you got to start from scratch again, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Now I've got to start the whole conversation over. Or you can have a system that says, Betty found this video really interesting, and she downloaded this, and she's on the 12-minute video, she watched it for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and you call her 14 minutes into it, and now you've got an instant conversation.
Right.
That's with any, I mean, I'm talking about dance platform, but that's with any marketing program. That's why when we talk about putting together a business plan, a marketing plan leads to the activity plan.
Okay. Incidentally, don't ever use a 12-minute video. Our videos are never.
I watched the Infinite Banking one. I watched the Infinite Banking one today.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you think of it?
I liked it. I sent a copy to a potential client that I've been talking to about IUL.
Let me tell you a quick story. This was many, many years ago. It was one of the first videos we did. It was on just life insurance. It was just family life insurance.
Yeah.
And it wasn't specific to term or whole life or UL or anything. Anyway, I got a call from this guy back in New York, and he was a good producer, and he just said, he goes, I want to tell you something. He goes, your videos really work. He says, this evening, he goes, I was having dinner with the family, and I told my wife after dinner, he said, I want to show you something. I want to get your opinion on something. He says, so I bring her into my office, my home office. He goes, I'm standing in the doorway. I'm leaning against the door with my arms crossed like this. And I put her in front of the computer, and I play the life insurance video that you have. And she sits there, doesn't say a word. She just sits there looking at it. And when it's over, she turns to him up in the wall. She goes, we're getting life insurance, and we're getting it tonight. So I have lots of stories about successful videos, but the Infinite Banking works like that too. We have people who watch that video, and then they're just full of questions for the agent. Right. They say, well, wait a minute, how does this work? I mean, I can pull money out of this. I can fund this like my own bank. We can use it to buy a car. I can fund the kids' colleges. I mean, they're just full of questions. So it's a great conversation starter.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Any questions on how you can leverage? You have a wonderful database. You need to kind of clean it up. But I'm telling you, it's a gold mine, Don, a gold mine. And once you set it up, like Lloyd was saying, once you automate the thing, you'll be amazed. We get, and I'm, with different content, you'll get different results. But we get about an average of 2%. Of people who watch a video from a database. So if you had 2,000 people in your database, and you may have them split up amongst 5 or 6 different campaigns, but you're going to get about 20 leads or 20 viewings, people who are engaged per week at 2%. Really? I mean, actually more than that. It'd be more like 40. At 2%, it'd be 40 of 2,000. And we love to tell stories here and anecdotal stories. I was telling Lloyd this a couple of weeks ago. I had a guy call me, one of our customers, and he was saying, how should I be using these videos? And I said, well, you should be using the automated campaigns. He goes, well, I am. And I go, what kind of results are you getting? He goes, I'm not getting any results. And I go, really? That's odd. I said, you're not getting any viewing notices? He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, as a matter of fact, he keeps good records. He goes, I've gotten 151 viewing notices in 4 months. And I said, well, there's your results. I said, what happens when you call them? And he says, oh, I never called any of them. And he admitted, he goes, hey, that's my bad. He goes, I said, why? Why would you pay and run this system and get these leads and then not call them? And he just kind of chuckled and he said, I'm so busy doing what I'm doing. I go, well, that's wonderful. But I'm telling you, if you've got so much business that you can afford not to call 151 prospects, I said, shut it off. Don't pay me to do that. You're wasting your money and you're wasting your client's attention.
Right. Right. Wow. Yeah.
So you've got.
I'm hungry. I'm hungry. Whatever system I use, I'm going to work it.
So
Yeah.
you've got the right lead base to use.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've got the experience that once you get them on the phone, you should be able to convert them, right?
Yeah, I think most of the time.
So the two things that are missing, it sounds like, is a system and accountability.
Yeah.
Tracking of it.
Yeah.
And once you put a system in place, and this would be my advice, whether you talk to Don about his or there's a bunch of different programs out there. I think Dan's is best. I wouldn't have done the show with him if I didn't think it was good. But there's other programs out there. So whatever you do, but when you do it, if you don't treat it like a business, so like if I start a campaign, then I need to take my CRM and I need to block my calendar off so that I'm available for calls during the campaign. And I need to block my calendar off so that I can go in there and track what the results are. And then I need to backfill that up with other marketing activities. So you may get the 2%, but in between the 2%, you need to have enough activity going on. Most salespeople's commission's up and down like this, right?
Right.
And the reason our income is up and down like this is because our marketing activity is up and down like this.
Yeah.
So we need to have something that is consistent. When it's consistent,
Very true.
the input, the flow becomes more consistent.
Yep.
Okay.
Whether you if you have a system similar to what we were just describing today, that's when I recommend you go to like WS Ponton and get lists, or you go to, I'm going to give you the name of 3 or 4 for small businesses. TDI Insights.
What is it?
TDI, Tom, Dick, and Insights. TDI Insights.
Okay.
Is a place you can get small business lists. Data Axle. That's Data AXLE.
Okay.
And then Zoom Info is probably one of the best. They're a little bit more expensive, but their lists are really really refined lists. And so Zoom Info is a good place to go.
Hey, then, Lloyd, so do you think it's better to get a list? So you're talking about a system. So how would you use that list in a system?
Well, he's working, one of his, and I had this up on the screen in the beginning, was small businesses. And so getting a list of small business owners means that you can call them and you can do an email sequence to small business owners, and you do it small. You do 100, 500, 750, and 1,000. You do it over a few weeks. These lists are clean lists. They're good lists. They're active lists. These companies work these lists to keep them fresh, and you have a good marketing message to backfill what you're doing, so that as the list that you put into the system, for example, with Dan, as that list starts getting used, you want to have consistent activity going on. So your normal email platform, you can put together templates and send emails out. Lord knows right now there's enough information, for example, with all the different tax changes that are taking place for small business with COVID and all of that kind of money that they have. Small businesses have different tax seasons than individuals. So they've got it in February, they've got it in April, they've got it in June, they've got it in September, they've got it in December. There's different filings, and there's all kind of stuff going on with small businesses, particularly small business of 50 employees or less. And you know this with worksite health plans, right? Mm-hmm. So it gives you an opportunity to kind of warm that market up. And as you start getting engagement with them, then that gives you a fresher list to go with a platform like Dan's talking about. All I'm saying is that if we want to get rid of this up and down income,
Mhm.
we've got to have consistent.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That is, and from running a business, that no business would operate, or no good business would operate like Lloyd said, with up and down marketing efforts. But
Right.
I
Let
think that,
me just say this here real quick. So the post office has a program called using every door direct mail. So you can take postcards and use the post office every door direct mail, and they'll send that postcard in a zip codes that you pick out to every business that meets your criteria, and you've got a great criteria. Every business that meets that criteria, they'll send you postcards to those places.
yeah, that's a good example of the point I wanted to make, Don, is that all of your marketing, in my opinion, all of your marketing should be automated. So whether you are doing what Lloyd just said, going to the post office, you commit, let's say it costs $500 a month and they're going to send out X. I don't even know what the number would be. And let's say that number that they send out consistently produces 10 leads. And of those 10 leads, you're able to close 2 or 3 of them. So you know that for every $500 you invest per week, that you're going to get 2 or 3 sales from that. I'm just using arbitrary numbers. But this is how all businessmen work, and this is how we should all work in the insurance practice. Whatever it is, you might want to do postcards, you might want to do newspaper advertising, you might want to do drip marketing, you probably want to do some of all or several things. But you want an ROI, a measurable return on investment for every one of them. And you want that automated. So whether you hire the post office to do that, or you hire a postcard mailing company to do that, or you hire somebody like WebPres to do that, you put that on autopilot and you commit your budget expense, whether it's $500 or $5,000, you commit. That's your expense. That's your operating expense. That's your marketing operating expense.
Right.
And you know that 5,000 or 500, whatever, is going to produce a profit. But you just let it run. You just keep feeding that over and over and over again. And you specialize in talking with people and developing relationships and selling product.
That's what I enjoy anyway.
Yeah.
That's why you break it up. Like nobody's got, most advisors that I talk to, they don't have enough money to be doing telemarket, direct mail, email. We're not talking about spending $5,000 a month on 15 different programs. Have 2 or 3 consistent automated programs that feed you, and then you manage things and you lead people. So your job is to lead yourself, lead your family, and lead your prospects, and then just manage the things. So if when you're watching your campaigns, you can see for example, how many emails went out. You can see how many mailings went out. You can see who's opening the emails, who's watching a video, who's doing a download, who sent a reply card back for a direct mail. You can watch those numbers, and that tells you what to invest in. And if you do this consistently for a quarter, I mean, the way you get your income to be level like this, you put a system in place, you track it for 90 days, and you do more of what works and less of what doesn't work. And then what happens is the next 90 days, you can start predicting your income because the results are predictable.
Right.
If you do the same thing over and over. Dan, do you want to comment on Dave's?
Yeah, so Dave's asking if the 2% I quoted in terms of the weekly response rate on the drip marketing, yes, is that with cold leads or overall? So the numbers are, it depends on the quality of the list, but the 2% is probably still applicable even to cold leads, might be more like 1.5. So you really don't want to use cold leads unless you have to. But the difference will be that the 2%, the people who watch videos and you pick up and call them, they don't know you. So your response rate and in terms of their opening to you, how receptive they are, I should say, their reception rate is going to be much lower than if you have a list of people who at least know who you are or to whom you have been marketing over a period of time. Particularly if they leads that you've spoken with at one time or another, people you've sold, referrals that you've gotten. If they recognize your name and you've been dripping on them, the reception that you get when you call them is excellent, and you get into really good conversations. The reception you get from cold leads who don't know you is cold. You can, if you're a good conversationalist, if you're good at asking questions, if you're good at engaging, I mean, it's a sales skill. You can do pretty well, but definitely cold leads do not produce the same results as warm leads.
Yeah. Now, on those cold leads, like when you get lists, you can warm those lists up. Like I can take a list, and I can go from a 16% open rate to a 30% open rate in the matter of 2 or 3 weeks by sending emails out with subject lines that are engaging and intriguing, that ask a question, and content that speaks to them, that it's informative and instructive, and it gives them some kind of actionable knowledge, something they can do with no request for them to do anything, and do that over a period of 3 to 6 weeks. So they see that when they get content from me, it's valuable content, and they're not asked to do anything in exchange for that. And in fact, they get stuff like click here to see this article, click here to get this download. And then once that's warmed up, once it gets into 32% and above open rates, and the click-through rate goes, to maybe 15, 20% click-through rate, that's a warm list. That I would put up in a system like Dan's, because now that's a warm list.
Yeah, that's excellent advice, Lloyd. You're absolutely right.
That's people that have interacted with me. And that's what I'm talking about, like the small business list. You get a small business list, you use your usual email platform to warm that up. Now, it takes some time to build the email templates. You might use a VA to do that for you that's really good at email marketing. And you put those email templates together and you warm that list up. Even the list that you put in with Dan, I'm guessing, Dan, there's sometimes that you can pause it for a month or two, and then start that list back up again, and boom, your open rates and your click-through rates get better again, because what's the old saying? Familiarity breeds contempt.
Right.
When you kind of get familiar with it, they go, well, it's probably a good video, I'll watch it later. And the email comes through at 8:00. They don't check their email until 11, and now that email's way down here. And I don't know about you, but it's 4:58 here. If I got an email in at 11 and I haven't looked at yet, there's a good chance I'm not going to spend the next hour scrolling down 80 emails to find the damn thing. Right. So sometimes pausing it and restarting it will freshen that list back up again too.
That's also right why text messaging has a much higher, about 300% improvement on open rates.
Yeah.
All right.
We're at
the end of the hour here.
We've done a lot of talking. Let me turn it over to you, Dan. Don, what's your thoughts and feedback about what we shared with you today?
No, I need a system. I was looking at your Safe to Sell, Lloyd, but I didn't get far looking at Dan's, so I'm going to dig into that after this. But I need a good system. I've known I need a good system. The things I've had presented to me in the past seemed very expensive. I'm definitely, I want to do something with these leads and to cultivate, let's get some of the juice out of them. There's business in there.
Again, it's inventory. You've already taken the time, money, and resources to get them. Yeah. And the fact that you're letting them sit on a truck in the alley of your business is heartbreaking to me. Heartbreaking. All right. So listen, I appreciate everybody being on the show. You're all valuable. You're worth $100,000 a year. You're a highly trained licensed professional. Everybody watching the show today, everybody that's going to watch the show in the replays, your success is going to come from the next thing you do. My counsel to you is to do something different. Just do the next thing. And then, Dan, next week, what do you want to talk about next week? You want to keep going through that list we started off with today?
Yeah, I think that list that you're using with your clients on how to kind of kickstart their business or get back in or take it to the next level, I think there's a lot of good meat in there. So let's continue with that.
All right, man. All right, Don, thanks for being on. Just shoot me an email. Shoot me an email when you kind of figure out which direction you want to go of the stuff we talked about today. And it doesn't have to be with Dan. It doesn't have to be with me. Go find another system out there that works for you. Find something that works for you that can automate it, and then come back on the show and tell us how it's been. Or if you run into a roadblock or a challenge, shoot me an email, or do like you did today. Just pop in, and we'll bring you on the show. You're always welcome to.
Don't listen to Lloyd. Come over to WebPres and use our videos.
Well, that would be my recommendation too.
All right. That good. Okay.
All right. Have a good weekend, guys.